Welcome back to the Civil Rights Lawyer channel. Do you remember the video that I did about 6 months ago showing the body cam footage with the daughter of Nathan Harmon, Berkeley County, West Virginia sheriff, who got in a car wreck and obviously is suspected of DUI but gets preferential treatment? Well, there's been a huge update in that case. Let me show you some of the footage again so that you remember what we're talking about here.
What's going on, Mike?
Good, how y'all doing?
Yeah, she's the driver. He was in the pickup truck. That's all I'm saying.
Not hurt or anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay. You need your license, registration, insurance? You have a preference on the tow truck, ma'am?
No, I'm gonna let my dad take care of it. My dad will take care of it. My dad's Nathan Harmon. He's on his way right now.
Okay.
So that was the daughter, and this guy filming the body cam footage is a deputy in the county where her father is the elected sheriff. So she immediately name drops her father, and here you can see her father show up to the scene.
You have a preference in tow truck, sir? She's up there in the truck. I just got him out of the roadway so traffic went.
Have you talked to her? Is she drinking?
I can't tell.
Okay.
She's right behind you.
But wait, there's more. Spike Cohen's going to tell us about what has happened now.
Well, she was definitely involved in a crash which resulted in destruction of private property. It's almost certain that it was a drunk driving incident that he was attempting to cover up. And since that time, Carrie and two of her friends have now been arrested for malicious wounding and conspiracy. He is still continuing the practice of when anyone goes on any of his social media, or I believe on the sheriff's department social media, and says anything that isn't completely positive about them, they delete the comments and block the people posting it, which, of course, as you know, is a violation of the First Amendment.
All right, just to get things straight, the police officer investigating this crash, his boss is the sheriff, and that's his daughter who was driving the car who may have been drunk. The sheriff shows up, again, his boss. First thing the sheriff says to his subordinate is whether he knows whether or not his daughter's been drinking. And the guy just kind of laughs it off and hints that, yeah, she probably was drinking, but he can get her out of it.
Have you talked to her? Is she drinking?
I can't tell.
Okay.
She's right behind you. I'm pretty much done. All I gotta do is just leave a note for them so I don't get in trouble by state law.
Whereas the rest of us would have been given a breathalyzer test, we would have been asked if we were drinking, we would have been asked where we were coming from, where we were heading to, we would have been ordered to do field sobriety tests. None of that happened here. This was classic preferential treatment, conflict of interest, and then because there was footage of it, the public found out about it. And again, that's the only way these people are held accountable. So the public finds out about it, the public is outraged, and now there's a special prosecutor who's appointed. Now, this is 6 months ago. This is back in January. So what DUI case takes a special prosecutor even 6 months to figure out whether or not she should have been charged with DUI back in January of 2023? It's my understanding that nothing has come of that until now. But something else happened, and surprise, surprise, this same girl just got in trouble again. So according to the Journal News, bar fight leads to criminal charges against daughter of Berkeley County Sheriff. So she's in trouble again. This time she got arrested. Now, Spike Cohen has been following this much more closely than I have, and he has been on top of this sheriff, not only with this, but with the fact that the guy's been blocking people on social media in violation of the First Amendment. So earlier I got to talk to him. Take a look. Maybe first tell me a little bit about yourself and like how you get involved in some of these issues, and then I'd like to know kind of how you got onto this Nathan Harmon issue.
Sure. So my organization, You Are the Power, what we do is we find instances of local governments disrespecting the people that they're supposed to be serving. We help organize our membership, which is a nationwide membership of thousands of members, as well as the locals in that community to fight for justice. And we help to spread liberty in the process of doing that. And so we have many, many causes that are brought to our attention all across the country. We have a team of people that work full time vetting these causes, seeing if there's anything we can actually do about them. And if causes are vetted to be legit and there's something we can do about it, we get right to work doing it. One of those causes was this case of what was going on with Nathan Harmon. And it actually started initially where Sheriff Nathan Harmon was blocking people on social media. That's usually an easy task for us to deal with. We simply notify them that they are violating the First Amendment as affirmed by Davison v. Randall, and that they need to knock it off or they're going to end up being in big trouble. And that, if they don't like the rules, they got to take it up with their congressman, but we're duty bound to enforce them. And that didn't seem to be enough because he kept continuing to block people. While that was happening, we found out about the case shortly after that of what happened with his daughter, Carrie, where she was involved in what was almost certainly a drunk driving and property. She was definitely involved in a crash, which resulted in destruction of private property. It's almost certain that it was a drunk driving incident that he was attempting to cover up. So we continue to remain involved in that. And then, as you know, the special prosecutor was involved with that. So we were waiting with bated breath to see the results of the special investigation that was ordered. And since that time, Carrie and two of her friends have now been arrested for malicious wounding and conspiracy. And so now we're finding out the facts of that as that unfolded. The fact of the matter is people have been warning for quite some time, both publicly and privately to Nathan and his family, that Carrie is out of control and that she, if left unchecked, was going to end up hurting someone. And that apparently is exactly what happened.
So what do we know about what happened?
This specific incident, so far, what we know is that Carrie, along with two of her friends, went to, are alleged, because she's innocent until proven guilty, but are alleged to have gone to Bad Habits Bar, I believe it was called, and where they had already conspired to brutally beat down another woman. And then after it happened, she reported it to police. And Carrie and her friends were arrested for this. Now it's interesting because Nathan, the sheriff, put out a statement either that day or the next day, stating that as soon as he found out about this, he made it clear to his deputies that he was not going to be involved and that he wanted no special treatment and them to treat this just like any other similar case, which is what he's always done. But we know that's not the case from previous incidents like the one with the alleged drunk driving incident. According to Carrie's own words, she has gotten in trouble multiple times, and her father has always either bailed her out or covered it up. And hopefully, just the public scrutiny on this is sufficient to make sure that he doesn't do it again. But we have no reason to suspect that he won't do what he always does.
How long was it after the drunk driving alleged incident and this new arrest?
It was a few months. I'm trying to remember the exact timeline. I know it was earlier this year. I want to say about 3 or 4 months ago was when that happened. And so we've been trying to keep tabs on that and staying in touch with our local members that are in that area to see if there's any new information. We've always obviously been combing for any new news, and there was no new news. So we were hoping to hear from that sooner than later. In a lot of these cases, it can take several months for us to hear anything new when there's a special prosecutor or an independent investigation involved, as I'm sure you know better than me. And so we were just waiting to get the results of that. And then this kind of came out of nowhere last week.
I know, just looking back at my own notes here, when I did a video on her DUI incident, the body cam footage,
Yeah.
I had posted that to my blog on January 30th of this year, and it's now August 5th. So
okay, so then yeah, it was 7 months. I knew it was earlier this year. Yeah.
And so 7 months now, have you heard any sort of information coming out or any conclusion or report out from the special prosecutor who was appointed over the DUI matter?
We have heard absolutely nothing, and we have not just waited to hear something publicly. We have also continued to speak with our sources that are in that local area and hadn't heard anything. We were hoping that this wasn't just that they had decided to put it on a file folder that was never going to be opened again. We believe now that with this incident happening, if they weren't actively working on that, it's almost certain that they're going to have to revisit that, because now there's tremendous public pressure to look into all of the things that had been alleged in the past as well.
So that's a misdemeanor. West Virginia has basically a 1-year statute of limitations on misdemeanors. So this is something you see with law enforcement when prosecutors or law enforcement are wanting to cover something up, they will delay. If it's a misdemeanor, all you have to do is wait for January 6th, 2024. And now they're 2/3 of the way there, 3/4 of the way there, and it can never be charged. Most normal Americans, if they get a DUI, I mean, they're charged that night or the next day. And what takes 6-7 months to figure out, if somebody has, if there's probable cause to charge somebody with a DUI?
Well, apparently what it takes is waiting another 5 to 6 months for it to expire so that they can say, oh, well, there's nothing we can do now. And just think about that for a minute, John, because if she had simply kept her nose clean, everything would have been fine. This would have all eventually, blown over to the extent that she couldn't be prosecuted for it. People would move on to whatever the next story was. But no, because she has felt like she is, untouchable and can be lawless, she went and allegedly, anyway, assaulted someone. And my understanding, and you can maybe weigh in more on this, but my understanding is, malicious wounding is considerably worse than a simple assault. This means that, this is someone who was beaten pretty brutally.
Yeah, I mean, that's a felony. So, I mean, usually malicious wounding, I mean, that's like a stabbing or shooting. I mean, something, a serious violent incident, but the person didn't die.
Right.
And I've actually represented elected sheriffs before. I've represented elected politicians in criminal defense cases, and that generally is what you want to do. Is you want to delay, and you want it to get out of the limelight. You want people to forget about it. You want to put as much time as possible between the incident, whatever media attention there was, and whatever deal you're trying to make or whatever trial you're going to have. And the problem is when you have a misdemeanor, again, you only have 1 year. As a prosecutor, you only have 1 year.
The interesting thing about this now is with this alleged assault that's happening, one of the things that we continued hearing from, because once we started talking about the case with Carrie, we had members of Nathan and Carrie's family actually reach out to us to say that they had been warning for years that Carrie was getting worse. And Nathan and his wife and family's response was to either ignore them or threaten them. And so they just eventually realized that there was absolutely nothing they were going to do about it. And there were a couple, including Carrie's aunt and cousin, who actually came forward publicly to state that they had been saying this and that they had been making these warnings, and that it was actually the cousin who Carrie had talked to say that she was drunk that night when she had been driving and got in that accident, that she had blown a 0.15 or 0.13, I'm trying to remember now, but that she had blown well above the legal limit, which means that contrary to what Nathan said, a breathalyzer was issued at the time that she had that accident earlier this year. So this is not like it came out of nowhere. There have been many warnings for quite some time, but both Nathan and Carrie thought that, because of his position, that she and they could simply do whatever they want. And he's still acting that way. He is still continuing the practice of when anyone goes on any of his social media, or I believe on the sheriff's department social media, and says anything that isn't completely positive about them, they delete the comments and block the people posting it, which, of course, as you know, is a violation of the First Amendment.
Has he blocked you?
Yes, he has blocked both my my public page and my personal account. And all I did was politely encourage him to resign. Certainly, First Amendment protected language to petition for redress of grievance.
And so, has he issued any sort of statement in response to this new set of charges against his daughter?
He did. He released one a day or so after, or possibly the same day, where he stated that he immediately told his deputies that this needed to be handled the same way anyone other would be handled, no special favors or anything else. And then he went, which completely contradicts how he's treated her other cases where absolutely special favors were involved. And then he went on to talk about how, no family is perfect and that his daughter has made poor choices and will have to be held accountable for it. That part is certainly true. But the phrasing of it made it appear that he's trying to act like, this just was a sudden thing and no one could have possibly predicted this. The reality is, from what we've been told by family, this is a very slowly escalating thing that he and she and the wife as well, Nathan's wife as well, have been warned about for quite some time.
When you say incidents prior to the DUI allegation, were there incidents before that?
There were a bunch of different alleged incidents, and I hesitate to get into them because they're purely on hearsay. There is no kind of suggesting evidence, but we've heard it from multiple people that there were incidences of drug use and drunkenness and threats and things like that. And like I said, I hesitate to get too much into that because I don't want to make an accusation of something that has no kind of supporting evidence whatsoever. But I've heard it multiple times from people who were either related to or associated with Carrie.
How old is she?
She is in her early 20s. I believe she's like.
How old is the sheriff, Nathan Harmon?
He's, I believe, mid to late 40s.
And was he like a sheriff's deputy there in that county prior to becoming an elected sheriff?
Yes, he was actually, no, he was a West Virginia state trooper. And it was alleged by the previous sheriff of Berkeley County, West Virginia, which is what the county that Nathan is now a sheriff of. The previous sheriff has multiple times alleged that Nathan, when he was a West Virginia trooper, that he tried to coerce people in an abandoned, I think, grain silo to testify falsely against the former sheriff in order to get him removed. And it reached a point where the former sheriff actually took the information that had been given to him by these people that Nathan was trying to get to tell lies about him and give false testimony to about him. This former sheriff went to the West Virginia State Police or state troopers or whatever it's called there and said, presented the information and said, if you think that you have a case here, I'm happy to cooperate, but it looks like your trooper here is on a fishing expedition against me. And then shortly after that, Nathan was no longer with the state police. And then shortly after that, Nathan ran for sheriff of Berkeley County.
I believe that's the same county in West Virginia where I had a case where the Republican nominee for sheriff of that county had an illegal search and seizure inside his home where he was arrested. State troopers had taken his mugshot from a secure area of the state police detachment and posted it to social media before he even got arraigned or saw a judge to get a bond. And, for sort of political purposes, that resulted in an award of qualified immunity, and it was upheld at the Fourth Circuit. Qualified immunity. Yeah, this man was having a medical emergency in his house. The cops came in. And while the EMTs are working on him, the cops are searching through the house to see what they can find. And they ended up arresting him.
And of course, according to the doctrine of qualified immunity, those officers couldn't have possibly known that that was a violation of his rights. And therefore, they must receive immunity.
What was it about the DUI case and that body cam footage that got you interested in that case?
Anytime that we see an incident of a public official or government employee who is just outright disrespecting the people that they have been entrusted with a power and authority to serve, we do anything that we can to bring attention to that. I'm in Mississippi right now working on another case involving a man who was killed and dismembered, and the police found his dismembered body and immediately ruled that there was no foul play involved and they weren't going to be investigating it. Anytime that I see incidents like this, whether we're talking about corrupt police officials, whether we're talking about eminent domain abuse, whether we're talking about medical kidnapping of children, any kind of incident where government is taking its authority and power that's being vested in it and using it to abuse the people that they're supposed to be serving, You Are the Power does everything we can to bring it to the attention of the public, and if we are able to organize the community to fight against it and stop it from happening.
All right. Anything else about this Nathan Harmon case that we haven't discussed that you think is interesting or important?
Only that we're going to continue following it until we get a resolution. And as it continues and as more information develops, we're going to continue to put pressure on the local authorities there to do their job, investigate this, not just this one incident, but all the incidents that allegedly led up to it, including what appears to be a major abuse of power by the sheriff there.
If people have information, there in Berkeley County that they want to forward to you, what's the appropriate means to do so?
So I am on all social media. I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. I am on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. I am on Twitter, or now X. I'm on Rumble. I'm everywhere. And my organization, You Are the Power, is on Instagram, Facebook, and I keep calling it Twitter, on X. And so you can reach out to us by DM or in the comments of one of our posts on any of those, and we will be happy to get in touch with you. We also have an email that you can fill out if you go to info@youarethepower.net. Send any information that you have on this or any other case, and we will look at it and see if there's anything we can do about it.
All right, Spike, I appreciate it. And
absolutely.
Let me know if you hear of anything else, and I'll do the same.
I will certainly do it. Thank you, Jonathan. I'm a huge fan. Thank you for all the work that you do on all these different cases. I think that there are very few people that I call a hero. You're certainly one of them. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I don't know about that, but
that's part of it. Every actual hero, when they hear that, goes, "Yeah, I don't know about that." You're doing great work. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thanks again to Spike for staying on top of this and talking to me about it. I will put all his contact links in the first comment of this video. I will also link, probably at the blog, all of the media reports that I found to this actual incident. As far as details go, it has them all in there. Basically, there was this bar fight that was later reported by the victim to the sheriff's department, and they went and apparently pulled the surveillance footage from this bar, and I think it was called Bad Habits Bar, which was aptly named. And the footage must have corroborated the victim's complaint, the allegations that this was a felony level of physical assault involving the sheriff's daughter. And then after this was reported, I'll also link this media report. The sheriff went out there and gave a statement on Facebook, which apparently, according to Spike and others who are complaining, he is blocking people who have posted negative comments. So if that's the case, Spike is collecting information. I encourage you to reach out to him. I would potentially be interested in maybe filing a First Amendment lawsuit here if this is happening. The sheriff's statement basically says that he wants zero outside influences in the investigation, yada, yada, yada. But we can see from the original video, the original body cam footage, that what he says in his public statements and what was actually happening when he's instructing his subordinates may be two different things. I will also post a link to the full body cam video from my prior video 6 months ago if you want to watch the entire, or most anyways, of the body cam footage. So as always, thanks for watching. I'm sure this is one where there will be a third update video at least. So make sure to subscribe both here and at the blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com. Remember, freedom is scary. Deal with it.